Hello ladies and gents. In this section we will implement a so-called worklist application and discover a little bit more advanced concepts of UI5. This time, instead of creating everything from scratch, we will use this application wizard extension on VS Code, which we had installed in the very first video, but you can install it now if you haven't already. And to run it, we select the view and command palette, and we select Open Template Wizard here. Now, if you are running this for the first time, you might see an error message saying that there are no generators available, but you can click here on Explore and Install Generators, and then install one or several. I will be using this SAP Fiori application because it's aligned with SAP Business Application Studio. Now we select our generator and click on Start. As for our application type, we will select SAP UI5 Freestyle because Fiori Elements creates an application solely based on OData annotations. And here as our template, we select Fiori Worklist application and we click Next. As for our data source, we will again use OData. So we say connect to an OData service, and our actual service will be the Northwind this time, version 2 again. So let's copy this link here and paste it as our service URL. Give it a few seconds. And next. Then the object collection will be the entity set we want to see on the list page. And we will use products once again. And as for our collection key, it will be product ID. We have only one, so we have only one option anyway. And object identifier will be like the title of every product, so we will select product name. Our object number will be unit price, and we will leave unit of measure as none since we again don't have a currency field. And we say next. Module name, let's say my products. App title, again my products. Application namespace, let's say UI5, and we can leave the rest untouched. We say finish. And just wait. Now you should see a page like this. The status is green and it couldn't run npm install, so I will run it myself. Click here, integrated terminal, npm install. Okay, now let's quickly take a look at what we have. It looks very similar to what we did in previous sections. There are a few differences, of course, like we have 3 UI5.yaml files for different occasions. This is our default one, and we have another one here for mock server. Let me close this. So the default one looks pretty much as usual. And here is another one with a mock data server. And there is another one for running our application locally, so it has all these dependencies. And the rest, the most important part, is the web app folder, and it looks very similar to what we did as well. Then if we check our views, we have an app view, we have some not found pages, and worklist view will be our home page. And we should already have routing configured for us right here. And if we open the worklist view, for example, we will see some errors. We can check here that says some of the controls have an empty ID attribute, and we will quickly fix that by going to manifest.json, and then we will find this flex enabled property and set it to false. This has something to do with something called stable IDs, which you can check out. Now let's close this and open again. And now we should be fine. And if we check this, it contains a semantic page from the SAP F Fiori Semantic library. It's just a more advanced version of the page control we used from the M library here. So we have some more attributes we will check later. We have our heading, and as for our content, we have a table control, and we will see in a second how it's different from the list control. And we have a semantic send email action. And what semantic page basically does is it takes your actions and content, etc., everything on the page, and then it places them in a semantic way, so you don't have to place them on your own. Now let's try to run our application and see what it looks like with npm start. And now you might see an error message that your UI5 CLI version is outdated. For that, first we have to update it, because in here package.json it should be installed as a dev dependency right here. So let's copy that, and we say npm install --save -dev at UI5 CLI at latest. And then one more thing we can do is we go to our UI5.yaml file and update the spec version as 3.2, which is the latest at this time. Now if we run npm start again, we should see our application, and we can see all the products coming from the Northwind OData service. And if we click on one of the products, we see an empty detail page, well, almost empty. And here is the send email button I was talking about. And we have all these out of the box with our app generator. Now, as you can see, this table control is a little different than the list control because it's column based, but we currently have only 2 columns, which is the product name and unit price. So let's go back and add some more fields. But before, let's check our metadata. And find our products entity. Here is our key. And let's go back to our code, worklist view, which is our home view. And here we have our table control. We have our items coming from the products entity set. There is a sorter by default, sorted by product name ascendingly. We have some more attributes, biz indicator, growing, etc. Then we have a header toolbar for our list. If we check, it's right here on the left hand side. We have a title with the number of products, and on the right hand side we have a search input. So here we have the title, spacer, and the search field. Then we have the column segregation for our table control, and currently we have only 2. And after this name column, let's add another one. And inside we need a text as our column label. And first let's use the category. So text equals i18n category. And let's create this in our i18n file. Now this looks a lot more structured than what we had before. So let's find our worklist view right here, and maybe here all the way down. I will just add those without any description. And let's add another column for the supplier. And these 2 will come from navigation properties. If we check the metadata again, category and supplier are navigation properties. Let's also create this text entry. Supplier. And another one for the status of our product. which is again just another field here. It's named discontinued, and we will determine the state depending on this Boolean field. Let me also add this. And another one for units in stock. And it should be right here, units in stock. And let me copy this again. Units in stock. And now our items aggregation for the table control should be a column list item, because like I mentioned, the table control is column based, and we need to have a cell for every column we have here. Now we have one object identifier for the product name and one object number for the unit price. So let's add some more for the ones we just added, and we begin with category. We can just display it as a text. And this will come from, let's check, the category navigation property, and then slash, let's find category here, and the field name is category name. Next, what did we add? I think supplier also can be a text, and it will come from the supplier nav property here, and the field name is, let's see, supplier, let's use contact name. And next, what we have the status, and for this let's create an object status. Can be self-closing, and here let's first determine the text, like I said, depending on the discontinued field. So will be an expression binding here equals, and let's go back to products, and we say if discontinued is true, we will return I18 and discontinued. And let's copy this, else we will return in production. Let's create these as well. Okay, and let's also add the state, and it will be very similar. So I will just copy this binding expression, and if it's discontinued, we want the state error, and if not, we want it to be success. So it looks green. And lastly, I will set inverted to true because I just like how it looks. And what else did we have? Units in stock, and it should be a number. So let's say object number. And the number will be units in stock. Let's copy it as well here. Okay, it looks fine. Let's save and check what we have now. Okay, now this looks much better with more columns than just 2, but we are missing category and supplier because we forgot to add the expand statement. So let's go to our items binding. Here maybe let's say parameters. And we say expand. We have multiple, we will separate by a comma. First one category, and the other one we need is the supplier. And also, since this units in stock is a number, let's also align it to the right, like the unit price. We can do it in the column. As you can see here, we have an attribute named halign and set it as and for the stock as well. And let's also format our price as well. So I will remove this formatter and say type SAP UI model type currency. And unfortunately we don't have the currency yet again, but we need to pass it even if it's undefined. So we say parts, first the unit price and second currency, which doesn't exist. And then in here we need the unit equals, let's go with USD this time. Now let's check. And it looks much better now. Now what else we can do is we can make these units in stock and unit price a little smaller, since they are just numbers. So we have more space for the other fields. So let's go back and again to our columns, and this time use another property for these both, which is width, and set it to 15% by default. Now let's see how it looks. Okay, it looks better, and let's give our product name a little bit more space. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's give 25% for the name, or even 20 should be enough. Okay, this is good. But one problem we have with the table control is if we open the dev console and make the screen smaller and smaller, our cells or columns will start overlapping each other. But we have a super simple solution for this via another attribute of our column control, which is named demand popin. So I will select all the columns except for the product name and the price column, and I will say demand popin equals to true. What this will do is it will take these columns on smaller screens and it will place them under the 2 columns that we didn't set demand popin, so the name and the price, and the other columns will be displayed like a form under these fields. And for demand popin we have another attribute to decide when they should be moved, and it's named min screen width. And we have a couple of options here. I will set all of them to tablet, so they will be visible normally on tablet, and for smaller screens like phone they will be placed under. Now let's check. Looking nice. And if we go smaller and smaller, now we can see that we have the product name column and the unit price, and the rest, category, supplier, status, and units in stock, are under, looking more like a form. And let's change one of these, for example category to desktop, and see what happens. Okay, something went wrong. start again. Now let's start here again, and if we go smaller from desktop to tablet, now we can see category is placed here because we set the min screen width for it to be displayed as a column is desktop, and now we are in the tablet category, so we still see these fields here, the supplier status, etc. But if we go even smaller, they will be moved as well, and this is what we see. I will remove the width that we set for the product name, by the way, because this doesn't look very nice. We have a lot of space here, but it looks cumbersome. They are here together, the name and the price. So let's remove this, and it will use all the available space. And here, now this looks much better. We have the product name and unit price as columns, and the rest here under, which looks much better on smaller screens. Before we end this video, let's go ahead and implement some formatting for our units in stock field as well. Let's go back. Here is our object number, and instead let's say path units in stock, and formatter dot let's name it format stock status. Okay, this is path, and let's implement this. Our formatter should be under the model folder, formatter.js. I will just duplicate this. We need a comma in between, and here let's say determines value state according to the stock quantity. It's public, it takes a string value, and then it returns a SAP UI core value state enum value, and let's just name it value state, and we have to import it, of course. Here let's add it to our dependency array with slashes, name it value state, and let's change the name, of course, to format stock status. And in here let's use a switch case statement. According to this value, we don't need the break since we will return something. Actually, we will make a comparison here, like s value is greater than or equal to 20. Let's say we want it to look green, so we return value state dot success. So here inside our switch we should use true, and for more than or equal to 20 in stock we will return success. If it's more than, actually less than 20, but still, let's say and s value is greater than 0, let's return warning, like it's low on stock. And if it's less than or equal to 0, we will return error status. Now let's save and check our app. This doesn't look correct because the property we should be formatting is not the number, it's the state. So let me copy all this part, and the path is just units in stock. And here we have state, and this is the one we should be formatting. Don't forget to close this. And now let's try. Okay, this looks better. For the first one, it's discontinued and 0 in stack, so it looks red. 13, 19, 17, these look orange, and the rest, which are greater than 20, are all in green. That would be all for this video, and in the next video we will implement some icon tab bar filters so we can quickly filter our products depending on the stack status. So I'll see you there.